In the quiet town of Westridge, Maris Elwood, a humble servant girl buried under the weight of grief and mistreatment, finds a flicker of hope in a magical invitation to the moonlit gala. With the help of a mysterious woman and a pair of shimmering glass slippers, Maris captures the attention and heart of the kingdom's heir, Prince Auren. But when powerful forces threaten to erase her from the court and rewrite the rules of royal tradition, Maris must step from the shadows to defend her worth, not with lineage, but with courage. As love and legacy collide, the glass heart becomes a tale of rising from ashes, rewriting destiny, and learning that the strongest crowns are forged not from gold, but from grace. This is a story you will want to sit back and enjoy. Before we start, I would like you to subscribe, like and comment on this video from where you are watching from. Your support helps us bring more powerful stories. Let us begin. The town of Westridge was still asleep when Maris Elwood lit the stove at dawn. A low hum of wind curled around the edges of the stone cottage she once called home. Now, it belonged to someone else. Maris moved quietly through the kitchen, careful not to wake the women upstairs. The steps of her bare feet made no sound on the cool, cracked tiles. She boiled water for tea she wouldn't drink, scrubbed dishes she didn't dirty, and stitched the hem of a gown she'd never wear. Once, Maris had a father who filled their home with laughter and hand-carved toys, and a mother who hummed lullabies while painting wildflowers across their bedroom walls. But that was a lifetime ago. Her mother passed from illness when Maris was 10. Her father remarried 2 years later to Lisette Renmour, a socialite with cold hands and colder intentions. By the time Maris turned 18, her father was gone too, claimed by a mysterious fever. The house that once pulsed with life turned sharp and silent. Lisette and her daughters Vera and Delia claimed everything. Maris became a ghost in her own home. Still, she never complained. She just folded the linens, cooked the meals, bit her tongue until it bled. But something inside her remained quietly alive. Late one afternoon, while dusting shelves in the sitting room, Maris noticed an envelope slip through the brass mail slot. It shimmered faintly in the sunlight, gold-edged, sealed with royal wax. Lisette snatched it before Maris could speak. Her fingers trembled with excitement. "It's from the High Court," Lisette gasped, slicing it open. "The moonlit gala the royal family is hosting it next week," Delia squealed. "Is Prince Auren really going to be there? They say he's looking for someone serious this year," Vera added, smoothing her auburn curls in the mirror. "Someone to stand beside him as future queen." Maris kept her gaze down, heart quietly twisting. "Will I be allowed to go?" she asked. The room froze for half a breath. Then laughter burst from Lisette, sharp as glass. "You? In that threadbare dress?" Vera smirked. "Darling, the prince is looking for a match, not a maid." "You'll be busy anyway," Lisette added coolly, already sketching gown ideas. "You'll need to help us prepare. The girls must look flawless." Maris said nothing. That night, she climbed into the attic beneath the slanted rafters, the only place she could still call her own. There, tucked inside a hollow in the wall, was a wooden box holding memories. Her mother's paintbrush, a charm bracelet with a missing clasp, and a folded note her father had once left her. "Kindness may be quiet, but it's never weak. One day, the world will see your light." Maris closed her eyes and whispered to the silence, "I just want to be seen." A wind blew through the window, though it had been latched. She turned and someone stood in the shadows near the stair. A woman, tall, graceful, with wild silver curls, and a long indigo coat. Her voice was velvet and smoke. "You will be," she said. "But not as you are." Maris blinked. Who are you?" The woman stepped closer and held out a small box. Inside were shoes made of what looked like molten moonlight glass, but soft somehow, glowing faintly like starlight trapped in crystal. "I'm here to make sure you get to the gala," the woman said, eyes twinkling. "But there's one condition: you must leave before the final bell strikes midnight." And just as Maris opened her mouth to respond, voices echoed from below. A knock at the front door, a rustle of cloaks. Lisette's voice called out from downstairs, stunned. "Your Highness, Prince Auren." Maris gasped and turned to the mysterious woman, but she was gone. All that remained were the glass shoes. and a promise waiting to unfold. The moonlit gala had become the talk of the entire kingdom. Silks were ordered, jewels rented. Gossip flowed like champagne through Westridge's cobblestone streets. But in the attic of the Wrenmore estate, Maris Elwood watched the stars through a crooked skylight, her heart caught between longing and impossibility. The mysterious woman hadn't returned, not since she'd appeared and vanished like a dream. The glass shoes remained where she left them, glittering faintly with some quiet magic Maris didn't dare disturb. She tucked them safely under the floorboard, afraid it would all vanish if she stared too long. Downstairs, the house buzzed with chaos. Lisette had hired 3 seamstresses to work around the clock for Vera and Delia. A royal escort had arrived to deliver final instructions, confirming that Prince Auren himself would open the dance floor. He's the most eligible bachelor in 5 kingdoms, Lisette purred as she adjusted Vera's neckline. Remember, smile, curtsy, then speak. Maris remained invisible until the night of the gala. Lisette and the girls swept out of the house in a plume of velvet, perfume, and pride, their coats shining like a pearl in the moonlight. Alone in the silence, Maris stood at the base of the attic stairs, and then she heard it. A soft knock, 3 gentle taps on the back door. Maris opened it slowly. There she was again, the woman, only this time, her coat shimmered like the midnight sky, and her eyes were lined with moonlight. "You didn't think I'd forget you, did you?" she said. Maris stared, heart thudding. "Is this real?" The woman smiled and pulled from her sleeve a long, flowing gown the color of smoke and frost, with delicate threads of silver leafing across the bodice like vines. "Real enough to change everything," she said. "But remember, Maris, you must leave the ballroom before the 12th bell, or everything will return to what it was." "Everything?" Maris hesitated, then nodded in a breath. The woman stepped forward and touched her shoulder. The attic around her shifted, her dirt-smudged dress vanished, replaced by silk and shimmer. Her hands no longer bore calluses. Her hair was swept up in an elegant twist. The woman handed her the crystal shoes, and outside the door stood a sleek, moon-colored carriage waiting in silence, pulled by 4 silver horses. Maris stepped inside, dazed and glowing. When the carriage arrived at the castle, trumpets sounded in the distance. Lanterns floated above the palace courtyard like stars, and couples twirled across marble floors lit by hundreds of chandeliers. But none of it mattered. Once she stepped into the ballroom, because he was there, Prince Auren, tall, poised, with storm-gray eyes, and a quiet sorrow etched into his otherwise perfect smile. Dressed in dark navy with silver trim, he stood alone near the marble stairs, politely disengaging from a conversation with the Duke. And the moment Maris entered, his eyes found hers like a string had been drawn taut between them. He crossed the ballroom toward her before she could blink. "You're late," he said softly, a smile playing on his lips. "I wasn't sure I'd be invited," she replied. He extended his hand. "Dance with me," and they did. One song bled into the next. The crowd watched as the mysterious girl with starlight in her eyes spun across the ballroom floor in the arms of a prince. But the clock was ticking, and Maris didn't notice the time until the first bell struck. She gasped. "Wait, no, it can't be midnight already." Auren held her hand tighter. "Don't go yet, what's your name?" Maris backed away, panic rising. "I'm sorry, I have to." She turned and fled through the crowd, skirts trailing behind her. The second bell tolled. Then the third. The guards turned their heads. Auren pushed past startled nobles to chase her. But Maris was already at the steps, and then one shoe slipped from her foot. She paused, torn, but ran anyway. The carriage waited just beyond the garden hedge, and as the 12th bell rang out across the kingdom, the moon split the sky in silence. Behind her, Prince Auren stood on the marble steps, clutching the single crystal shoe in his hands. The grand ballroom of the royal palace stood still, hushed beneath a canopy of chandeliers. Nobles whispered behind silk-gloved hands. Laughter had faded. The orchestra's final notes hung like ghosts in the air. Prince Auren remained on the marble steps, the lone crystal shoe gleaming in his hand. "She didn't tell me her name," he said quietly. A palace guard approached. "Shall we pursue her, Your Highness?" Auren stared out toward the shadowed garden beyond the hedge. "No," he said. "She ran because she had to, but she left something behind. And I don't believe in coincidence." Back at the Renmore estate, Maris burst through the attic door just as the 12th bell fell silent. The gown vanished mid-step, replaced by her faded gray dress. Her elegant bun unraveled. The crystal shoe on her right foot shimmered once then dulled. She fell onto her cot, breathless. But her heart was alive. She had danced with the prince. He had looked at her not like a servant, not like a shadow, but like someone worth finding. And he would try. She knew it in her bones. In the days that followed, all of Westridge buzzed with royal news. The prince is searching for the girl from the gala. He's using the glass slipper, trying it on every maiden in the kingdom. Lisette fumed. "This is outrageous. That shoe is clearly Vera's size." "It's Delia's size," Delia argued, shoving her sister. "I told you not to wear the thick stockings." They fought. They plotted. They argued about angles and posture, and which of them looked more mysterious in candlelight. But Maris said nothing. She kept her secret close, even as the whispers grew. 2 days later, a royal carriage rolled into the Renmore driveway. Maris stood at the upstairs window, hidden behind a moth-eaten curtain. Prince Auren stepped out himself, his cloak dusted with snow, the glass slipper in his gloved hand. Lisette nearly fainted. "Girls," she shrieked. "He's here. Fix your faces, smile like your future depends on it." Maris stepped back from the window, heart pounding. "He's here. Downstairs." The prince's voice carried through the parlor like warm thunder. "I'm looking for someone," he said simply, "and I believe she was at the moonlit gala." Vera stepped forward first, eyes wide, hands fluttering. "It was me. I've been practicing my curtsy, see?" Auren glanced at the shoe. "Sit." She did. The slipper slid halfway over her heel, then stuck. Delia tried next. "Maybe your squire measured it wrong?" The prince didn't reply. He looked past the girls, his eyes scanning the quiet hallway beyond them. "Are there any others in the house?" Lisette's smile turned brittle. "Just the help. A scullery maid. She's terribly shy, quite clumsy, certainly not gala material." But Auren's jaw tightened. "May I speak to her?" Lisette hesitated. Maris, upstairs, gripped the doorframe, and then a crash from the hallway. A tray had fallen, a sharp scream, and a voice. "She's trying to steal it." She was hiding something. Maris rushed to the stairs. At the bottom Delia stood, holding the other crystal shoe, now pulled from beneath a floorboard in the attic. Lisette's face turned ghost pale. Auren's eyes locked with Maris's as she appeared at the top of the staircase, her cheeks flushed, hair undone, and one foot still bare. His voice was calm. "Certain. It was you." For a long, breathless moment, the entire room fell silent. Maris Elwood stood at the top of the staircase, one hand still on the banister, the other clutching the edge of her tattered dress. Her bare foot rested on the wood step, the twin of the glittering glass slipper that now glowed in Delia Renmore's trembling hand. Prince Auren stared up at her, not with confusion, but recognition, a knowing, a dawning warmth that broke through the cold formality of his princely composure. Lisette recovered first. "This is absurd," she cried, grabbing the slipper from Delia's hand. "She found it in the attic, probably stole it, probably planted it. Look at her, she's a servant. Dirty and kempt, she can't be the one. She's lying," Vera added, stepping in front of Auren. "She's only trying to trick you. She wasn't at the gala, she was in the attic all night." Maris swallowed hard. "I was there," she said softly. "I didn't come to deceive anyone. I just wanted one night where I didn't feel invisible." Auren stepped toward the staircase, past the stunned sisters. "Why did you run?" "Because I wasn't supposed to be there," she whispered. "Because I knew it would end at midnight, and it did." He looked down at the shoe in his hand, then up at her again. "Let's see if it fits." Lisette lunged forward. "You will not humiliate this household with this fantasy." "But," Auren raised a hand, quiet but firm, "you've done enough." 2 royal guards stepped forward from behind him, blocking Lisette's path. Maris descended slowly. Her foot trembled as she stepped off the final stair. Auren knelt. Gently, reverently, he placed the slipper onto her foot. It slid on like water. Perfect. Silent. Certain, Vera gasped. Delia dropped the other shoe. Lisette's mouth opened, but no words came. The room held its breath. Auren stood, now level with her. You don't have to be anyone else, Maris Elwood, he said. I see you. Tears welled in her eyes, but she blinked them back. I'm not a princess, she whispered. I'm not looking for a title, he replied. I'm looking for you. Before anyone could speak again, a messenger burst into the room, pale and breathless. Your Highness, he gasped, handing Auren a sealed scroll. A matter from the capital. Urgent. Auren frowned, reading quickly. His face darkened. What is it? Maris asked. He looked at her. My uncle. He's challenged the legitimacy of the gala match. He's petitioned the High Council to declare the selection void unless the bride is of noble blood. What does that mean? Maris whispered. It means, he said, voice hardening, they may try to strip me of the right to choose. Auren turned to her, his grip on the scroll tightening. They're trying to take you away from me. The throne room of the High Court of Aradale was colder than Maris imagined. All stone and shadow, it loomed with silence as nobles, counselors, and curious aristocrats filled the balconies like vultures waiting for spectacle. At the center of the marble floor stood Prince Auren, spine straight, eyes blazing not with anger, but resolve. Beside him, dressed simply but radiating quiet strength, stood Maris Elwood. Her hands were clasped, but her voice never trembled. I did not come here to claim a crown, she said. I came because I was invited. I danced because, for one night, I was seen. A ripple passed through the crowd. At the other end of the chamber stood Duke Corvin Thorn, Auren's uncle. Dressed in midnight blue and smug silence, he raised a thin brow. The laws are clear, he said, turning toward the robed council. Only a noblewoman may stand beside the heir. That rule has safeguarded our bloodlines for generations and condemned love to silence. Auren snapped back. If the laws favor cold pedigree over compassion, then perhaps the laws are broken. The head counselor raised a hand. This court must decide not whether your affection is genuine, but whether it has the right to reshape tradition. Murmurs echoed through the hall. The council deliberated for hours, reviewing lineage records, debating ceremony laws, even summoning Lisette Renmore, who tried to feign innocence and play victim. She deceived the court. Lisette wailed dramatically. She snuck into the gala like a thief. Maris said nothing in return. She didn't need to. Her truth was already shining brighter than Lisette's lies. When the council finally returned, the room fell deathly still. We have reached a decision, said the head counselor. Prince Auren may choose whom he will court and marry regardless of noble origin. Gasps. Whispers. Tears gathered in Maris's eyes, but she held them in. She had learned not to cry until she was safe. Auren turned to her and held out his hand. But before she could take it, Duke Corvin stepped forward. This farce may pass in court, he growled, but the people will never accept a commoner queen. Do you think they'll respect her? Follow her? Auren stepped protectively in front of Maris. Try to move against her, and you'll answer to me. Corvin's jaw tightened. We'll see about that. He stormed from the room. The court broke into applause, but Auren's expression remained guarded. He leaned close to Maris and whispered, he won't give up that easily. He'll try something before the coronation. Maris met his eyes. I'm not afraid of him. Good, Auren said, because there's something I need you to do. What is it? His voice lowered. I need you to disappear just for a little while. 3 days passed. The kingdom whispered. Rumors bloomed like wildfire. The mysterious girl who had stolen the prince's heart had vanished once again. Some said she fled to the northern hills. Others believed she had never existed, that she had only been an illusion, conjured by court drama and moonlight. But Prince Auren knew better. He knew exactly where she was, far from the court, tucked away in a quiet stone cottage at the edge of Westridge Forest, the same place she had once scrubbed dishes and slept under creaking beams. Maris Elwood waited. The hidden guard Auren had stationed nearby brought her news daily, and on the 4th night, the knock came. She opened the door, and there he was. No guards, no cloak, no crown, just Auren, smiling like the boy she met on the ballroom floor. It's over, he said softly. The council upheld their ruling. But more than that, Corvin was caught. He stepped into the cottage, his voice lowering. He paid a merchant to forge a noble birth record for another girl and attempt to discredit you. He's been exiled to the outer provinces. Maris let out a breath. She hadn't realized she'd been holding. Auren took her hands. I didn't want you near the palace until I knew it was safe. She looked up at him, her voice steady. You protected me, not with swords, with silence. He nodded. I love you, Maris. I loved you the moment I saw you run in glass shoes, and never look back. She blinked away the tears that came too quickly this time. I was always afraid of being too small for your world. Then I'll shrink it, he whispered, until it fits around you. A month later, the bells of Airedale rang like a symphony. The coronation ball returned, only this time it was not just for the court. The city gates were open. Lanterns lined the riverwalk. Music filled every alley and street. In the grand cathedral of silver stone, Maris Elwood walked not as a servant, but as a bride. Her gown was simple, ivory silk trimmed with moon thread embroidery. Her feet, bare beneath the hem, touched the velvet aisle with quiet grace. Auren waited at the altar, not with pomp, but with open hands. The nobles still whispered. Some curtsied low, others barely at all. But none of that mattered, because when Maris took his hand and the vows were spoken, the people saw not scandal but strength, not shame but a girl who rose from ashes to wear a crown of her own choosing. That night, they stood on the palace balcony, the kingdom glowing below. Do you regret it? Maris asked softly, leaning into him. Auren smiled and kissed her hair. Only that I didn't find you sooner. In her hand, she still carried the glass slipper, not as proof, but as memory. The girl who once danced in shadows now ruled in the light. And though midnight would always come, she no longer ran from it.